As I understand this, and this is the email that I wrote you here the other day. As I understand this, there is no statute of limitations on charging someone for violating posse comitatus. And if that's the case, so, you're a member of the National Guard. Trump says, I want you to go down there and beat those protesters, and you do it. And there's no statute of limitations on being charged. Could you potentially be charged? You're 30 years old for the next 40 years at any point in time if the government suddenly decides, you know what, we weren't going to prosecute you, but you know what, now we're going to drop the hammer on your ass. Is that possible?
Yes, unless Donald Trump pardons the people who carry out his unlawful
pre-pardons
commands. It wouldn't have to be a pre-pardon. On the last day in office, he can say, everyone in the United States military who, for example, carried out the orders to kill human beings in international waters,
right,
receives a presidential pardon. And unfortunately, with the Supreme Court saying the pardon power is one of those core constitutional functions that may not be questioned, doesn't matter how corruptly delivered the pardon is. Somebody could pay Trump $1 billion for a pardon, and Donald Trump couldn't be prosecuted, nor could the person receiving the pardon be prosecuted. So,
but it also means that any of these people who take part and actually follow this illegal order, if Trump gives the illegal order, they do the action, and then suddenly he drops dead of a heart attack or a stroke or something like that, and they don't have a pardon, for the rest of their life, at any point in time, the federal government say, you know what, we weren't going to come down on you, but you know what, we decided to come down on you.
And what I will say is, the soldiers are in a very, and when I say soldiers, I mean all military members across all of the armed services, soldiers, sailors, Marines, Coast Guard members, National Guard troops who are federalized, they're in a really tough spot. Because, for example, if they are told you are deploying to the streets of Chicago, and they know that there is presently a court order in place prohibiting the National Guard from being deployed to the streets of Chicago, what do? Do they abide by the order they're given by their military leadership? Do they abide by the court order and refuse to comply with the military order? What we're doing, people need to know that Donald Trump is damaging the military and putting military members at risk every minute of every day by playing this stupid dictatorial game.
Right.
And we just had 2 National Guard members, a captain and a staff sergeant, stand up and announce publicly, we will not comply with unlawful orders to deploy to the streets of Chicago. Of course, they were instantly retaliated against. They were disciplined. The captain had his security clearance revoked, but they don't care because they announced, we will abide by our oath of loyalty to the Constitution, not to dear leader. We need more of that. We need the men and women of the military to stand up, to speak out, and maybe we can kind of turn the tide against Donald Trump's reckless use of the military.
Yes. Yeah, there was a woman running in a Chicago suburb who was a National Guard person, and she said the same thing on, I heard her say it on WCPT. She literally said it to Richard Chu, saying, no, if they give me an illegal order, I'm not abiding by it.
But that's always the choice. That is the choice that separates us as a democracy from autocracy. Is when somebody says, you could do this illegal thing, and we say, no. We say, no.
Right.
And that makes the difference. It doesn't mean that it's easy. There are always consequences and that's why I so desperately wanted to ask you that question, Glenn, because for all those people who are like, well, he's the president and I'll just do what he says, there are consequences for doing what you know is illegal and wrong, even if the president himself or herself someday tells you to do it. If you know it's wrong.
Abu Ghraib, or just ask Lieutenant Calley from the Vietnam era, who was ordered to kill every man, woman, and child in the village, regardless of whether they pose a threat, regardless of whether they're armed. And he carried out the order, and he directed others to carry out the order. Then what did he try to do in his defense? hey, I was just obeying orders. And the courts said, no, that's not a defense. We're going to need our version of the Nuremberg trials when this is all over. And I've been asking people, you know, who are way more creative than me, what do we call our trials? The Nuremberg trials. We need our version. Somebody's got to come up
Truth
with a
and
good
Reconciliation?
name. Well, Truth and Reconciliation is about admitting that what you did and reconciling with those you victimized. But Truth and Reconciliation, at least as it applied to South African apartheid, was not really about grabbing everybody and holding them accountable. And I use this word advisedly, punishing them for what they did. So Truth and Reconciliation is important, no doubt, but that's only one piece. We need criminal trials.
Maybe the American accountability trials. I'd be fine with that.
The AAT, yeah. You know, we got to come up with something.